Whoa. Before we begin, I'd like to mention that the video of the game that's in the folder right now is different to what I've recorded for the director's commentary. And that's because after I recorded that video, I made some last minute changes to the game and forgot to record the game again. So I'm going to be talking about those changes here. Hello, my name is Jason and I created the game called Long Day with Clarence and Blaise as the 3D artist and me as the programmer. Our prompt for this project was to make a game that's beyond entertainment, which sounds like it makes no sense, but it basically means create a game that goes over a real world issue. The topic we chose to make a game about was drug misuse, or just drug addiction. We thought it'd be a good idea to make a game on drugs since a lot of people around our age group have been taking drugs. Well, everyone's actually vaping now, but that's beside the point. So we created a game to show how drugs can affect your mental health and ruin your work ethic and lifestyle. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the game. When you open up the game, you're greeted to a main menu that was formerly crafted by the hands of Clarence. Then when you click play, you're brought to a cutscene where the main character is being peer pressured into doing drugs. There was supposed to be audio playing for this bit, but I don't know how to program it in, so I'll edit in what the player's supposed to hear. Here, take these. Trust me dude, it'll make you feel amazing.
Bro, remember how I felt like crap the other day? After you gave me those drugs, I started feeling great.
You look like a total loser before. Good thing these drugs sorted you out.
This could be you. Just think about how much better you'll feel.
I mean, everyone's doing it. Why don't you? Besides, the boss has been in your case for slacking recently. You're practically done if you don't take the offer at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to lose your job, do you?
I knew you were a loser anyways. Then you're loaded into the apartment and you hear this. Damn, my room's a mess. Guess I should start cleaning up. I want to talk about this real quick. Blaise was originally supposed to voice the main character, but it seems like he had other plans, so I had to record the lines myself. He eventually did hand in the lines, but...
Damn, my room's a mess. I guess I could start cleaning up. I feel great. I should probably try and get back to work. Man, oh, you can't do it.
Yeah, so I kept my voice lines in the game. Not to mention that his files weren't even compatible with Unity. Anyways, you are prompted to pick up the lid on the floor. So you do, then the main character says this. It's so hard to move around. Maybe I should consider the stuff they were saying yesterday. And a drug spawns on the floor. Then you think to yourself, do I take it? I mean, there's literally no point in playing the game if I don't. So you take the drug and the screen starts spazzing out thanks to the power of post-processing. More about that later. Then your character is like, whoa, I feel amazing. I should try going to work. Prompting you to go to work. So then you do, so you do, and the character says, work is so boring, but I guess I gotta take it bounce from the boss. Also, notice how everything is dark and gloomy again. I'll talk about this later. But anyways, you collect the paper, then the character is like, damn, I really want to take more of those drugs. I think I left some in the storage room. Bro, give it a rest. Player goes to the storage room, you'll know because it'll literally say storage room, and takes the drug again. Two things to mention. Firstly, this was supposed to play when you take the drug. I feel great. Let's just try getting back to work. However, I'm kind of stupid. I didn't know how to code it so that the audio triggered when you picked up the drug. So I just put a text on the table telling you to go back to work. Also, kind of off topic but not really, we had a creative assembly meeting and I was given advice to increase the lighting once the player takes the drug. But once again, I'm stupid. When I mentioned that I made a few changes after recording the initial gameplay footage, this was not one of the changes. The player then goes back to the desk and is like, man, I can't do any of this. Forget this, I'm going home. And the next thing you know, you're back home. And before you get to do anything, the character is like, I could have sworn I cleaned up the apartment before I left. And what do you know? It's all dark and moody again. Yeah, I'll explain this later too. Anyways, you walk forward and you can really see how rushed the end of the game was. But not before the main character is like, it's actually a long day, I'm going to bed. At this point, I'm sure you know where the bed is. So you head there and the game ends. Going back to that creative assembly meeting, the person we were showing our game to suggested that we should make it so that when the player goes to bed, the entire game restarts so you can't stop playing until you quit the game. This honestly didn't sound like a bad idea and it honestly isn't even that hard to code. Even the pause menus encourage you to quit the game. The problem is, the game was supposed to take place in one entire day and we didn't really want to stray away from that idea. We quite literally had no idea for the end of the game, so I just made it so that the game ends when you touch the bed. It's not much but it's honest work. Now let's talk about the research, my least favourite part of the project. Since the topic was about drugs, we obviously had to research what effects drug had on humans. Let's take a look at our thematic research since I've neglected to talk about them in my past director's commentaries. Also, I did not work on these slides by the way, Blaise did all of the research. The drugs we did most of our research on were LSD, which is a party drug, and cannabis, which is a drug you'll find everywhere in the UK, despite it being illegal. And this is a good idea since during our research, or should I say Blaise's research, he found out that 3.2 million people around the ages of 16 to 19 are doing cannabis. As for the LSD, well, our original idea was to have a mechanic where the character starts hallucinating, since that's one of the main effects of taking LSD. We originally wanted to have some kind of story where the player starts hallucinating their past, as we need to show the negative effects of taking drugs. However, I thought this was too difficult, so we added that cutscene at the beginning and made that the narrative instead. Though, we still needed to show the negatives, that's why the game looks so gloomy at times. We also took some inspiration from the studio that we were shown at the start of our FMP called Nuggets. We were shown this video when coming up with ideas to show the negative sides of doing drugs. Oh yeah, the focus group happened. I conducted the focus group by myself since Clarence wasn't bothered and Blaise, well, for the slides, I showed a few of my friends our ideas for the game and some concept art that Clarence made. One of the first responses I got when I asked them what they thought was,
"Sounds like Euphoria."
which, if I had 1p for every time someone said that to me, Elon Musk would have some competition. Someone else said that we need to have some kind of incentive to make the player go to work.
Honestly, I think the working minigame, like, there should also be an incentive to do it, right?
And I didn't exactly know how to pull that off, so I just made it so that going to work is part of the main game. I was also told that it was good that we weren't trying to glorify drugs.
With your idea, I think that it's good that in your idea you're not really trying to glorify drugs like that, because like in some other games they normally like try to glorify it. So yeah, I think that your idea is kind of good.
And I was actually so glad that I heard that, because one main issue we originally had when pitching this idea was that it sounded like we were trying to glorify drugs. On to the next topic of the focus group, level design. Our original plan was to include at most 2 to 3 levels in the game, though we had more ideas for other levels. Someone else said that they liked the diversity of the ideas chosen for the levels.
I think they're quite interesting. There's a variety here, right?
The game probably would have been a bit better if I included another one of these levels. They also recommended that to hit our MVP, we should include
The apartment, the work, and I would say either the city or the bar.
Now for the mechanics. We actually struggled to come up with mechanics, but we eventually got one and they seem to be on board with it. That mechanic being the drugs mechanic, where the player takes the drug and they get some sort of power boost. Someone actually said that we should make the player more dependent on drugs over time.
Yeah, it makes them dependent, so like, but I don't think it should be the case immediately, right? I think it should progress.
I guess we kinda did that in the office level, but we didn't expand on it enough. I'll complain about it later, but one thing they suggested is that we added some kind of drug bar to show how effective the player is.
The drug bar or something, but not to balance it though. Just like as a meter, so you know how much drugs you've taken. And like, let's say you take a lot of drugs, your meter goes all the way up. It just becomes very distorted and stuff like that.
I'll be honest, I did not know how to code that. Also for the visual design, I made the mistake of not showing enough concept art, but they wanted us to do something similar to GTA, where whenever you take a drug, the screen starts getting wobbly and stuff like that. Overall, what I got from the focus group was this. They liked the idea. I should focus more on the apartment and office levels, add a trippy effect when the player's under the influence of drugs, and make it harder for them to move around. Okay, I wrote a lot for this section. Anyways, I'm going to be talking about 3 things here. The process of creating the game, areas I faced plus the stuff I didn't have time to add, and the QA testing. Firstly, let's talk about creating the game in Unity. The first thing I want to mention is how I blocked out the levels. In my 3D platformer project, I made the entire level in Maya. This was a bad idea, however, as it was harder for me to add colliders to everything. But at the time, I didn't know much about box colliders and such. This is something that I changed in the interactive immersion project, where the buildings are separate assets to the actual level. The reason why you aren't seeing any footage of the interactive immersion project is because that game sucked. However, I did carry this method over to this game. I actually forgot to record myself blocking out the level, but I have a screenshot of the level in its prime, so take that as you will. I've also had to learn a thing called post-processing. I was actually made aware of post-processing in the start, but I never thought I'd use it until now. But since my game is mostly dependent on visual effects, I knew I'd have to learn how to use it. And learn I did. I watched the Bracky's video. But hey, at least the game looks good. Kinda. Lighting was an important factor of my game, since I could use it to show the mood and point of view that the character is in. This explains why the lighting gets so dark at times. In the office level, the drug effects are supposed to be worn off and the main character is feeling down again. Then he takes the drugs and feels happy again, but not before he touches yard and everything's all dark again. If there was no light manipulation in the game, you would not be able to tell what was going on. Also, as you can see, there are outlines on every object. We want our game to look simple and not overly complicated. This explains why the textures are solid colours and the outlines. We want to have cell shading in the game so that it could be easier to tell when the lighting is changed or not. It also just looked nicer. Also, the outline kinda doesn't work at times. I think it's just a problem with the C# script since it was a global issue. To be fair, I did download the script off the internet, so I don't know what I was expecting. Next thing I want to talk about are the errors in the game and things I could have added if I had one more week. Now that we're finally here, I think it's about time I addressed a huge elephant in the room, the beginning cutscene. I really wish I added audio to the cutscene. I spent at least a few days on this cutscene and called it to a sprint log, trying to figure out how to pull this off. If you look at my storyboard, it was supposed to be visuals for this cutscene. There are actually a lot of issues with that storyboard, but I'll talk about it later. Blaise was actually supposed to record the lines for one of the friends, but you know, so I just recorded them myself, and they still ended up being unused. This is mostly due to the fact that when the time came to add the audio, I had no idea how to program it in. Now I'd like to talk about the storyboard and compare it to the final game. First, we start off with the main menu. It's in, but it's a lot different to the final main menu. Then the main character is being peer pressured into doing drugs. No visuals or audio, but at least we got into the game. Player does chores such as cleaning the dishes. No cleaning dishes, but we got the chores part in. Then the player takes the drug, making it harder for them to move. We actually decide to do the opposite and give the player a boost when they take the drug so that we can bite them back harder later. Then the player goes to work and it's in a typing minigame. They do go to work, but there is no typing minigame. Then they take the drug again. Then the boss shows up and tells the main character to meet them at the end of the day. Yeah, this was not included in the final game. We did make an asset for the boss, but Blaise out of the country for a bit, and I put 90% of my focus towards making the apartment level. We couldn't work on the office level for long, and it got to a point where I almost scrapped the whole level. Actually, let's talk about that real quick. So here's the original level map for the office, and assuming I recorded it, here's how I tried to recreate it in Unity. So obviously, the level did not look good, and because of this, I lost so much motivation to work with the level. Also didn't help that, like I just mentioned, Blaise, who's working on the assets for the level, wasn't in school for a while, so we almost ended up scrapping the entire level. However, we were told to scale down the level to like 3 rooms, so we did, and I guess that was manageable, excluding the fact that we literally worked on the level like a week before the deadline, but it's okay. Now it's time to talk about the QA testing. If I'm going to be honest, I had no idea how to make the form accessible to people outside of E, so I just asked the people that went to E. We originally made this form back when the game was in an earlier state, and one feedback we received is that the player didn't know where to go. I fixed this by adding dialogue of the main character prompting you to do stuff. I also gave the pickups yellow outlines to make it obvious that you have to pick those things up. Another response we got was that the narrative was confusing. This was because in the cutscene, one of the friends refers to the drugs as nuggies, which was our original name for the drugs, but it seemed like not everyone understood that the main character was being peer pressured into doing drugs, so I just changed the word nuggies to drugs. So, in conclusion, I'm actually very proud of this game. I haven't been this proud of a game since my endless running back in October. I mean, the 3D platform was alright, and the interactive immersion project. Even though this game might not be a distinction quality game, I'm still very proud of what I managed to achieve. I was able to make a mostly functional 3D game with voice acting, and I also learned how to manipulate lighting. I think I was able to hit the brief with the cutscene at the beginning. Yeah, that cutscene is a lifesaver. And with the voice acting, since you literally need audio in the game to pass the project. Though, I really wish I added the audio to the cutscene. But yeah, that's my game, Long Day, created by me, Clarence and Blaise. My name is Jason Felipe, and I hope you've enjoyed this director's commentary.